Hi everyone, this is Erin. In today's video, I'm going to be sharing some tips that will help with panic and anxiety attacks. Nothing that I say in this video should ever be a substitute for a doctor or trained medical professional opinion. And especially if you are going through something very severe um, or scary. And in that case, I would always encourage you to reach out and get help. I have done that in the past myself, and I promise you that no matter how you are feeling at the time, you will always look back and be glad that you did. So, just getting that out of the way. I'm going to be sharing 5 tips that will help you with dealing with a panic attack or anxiety attack. And panic attacks are scary, they're debilitating, and they are sometimes quick, but like a tornado, they're powerful, and they can be both physically and emotionally exhausting. Even though these tips might not cure anything and it takes a lot of time, they should help, and I hope that they do. So we're going to go through 5 of my favorite tips, and even though they're all helpful and have helped me over the years, number 3 really changed my life. And it's so simple, but it really, really helped me. Okay, so number 1 tip is to have some kind of a code word or phrase that you can let someone know, someone obviously close to you, if you feel like you're going to start having some kind of a panic attack or anxiety attack. This tip actually came to me by accident, but it was extremely helpful over the years. So what I mean by this is a lot of the time when panic attacks are coming on or when they're full blown, it's very difficult to think or to react or to answer questions and interact with someone. Because of that, there's a lot of stuff that you need to have in place before it happens, so that when it does happen, everything can kind of just flow until it passes. So when I originally started having panic attacks, and I didn't fully understand what was happening yet, it was very new to me. I didn't start having them until after a medical emergency that I went through, and I was like 27. So it was very late for me, and I didn't understand what was going on. And it would start to happen, and it was very scary. And I would call my dad. And the first time it happened, I said, I don't feel good, because I was like kind of where I was at that point, like the heart palpitations and things like that. So I said that, and my dad kind of talked me through some things, and it was scary, but eventually it would pass. And so after a couple of times, once we realized what it was, my dad always knew that if I called him and I said, I don't feel good, he knew what was happening. And we had an agreement at that point that he would do the things that we had already laid out would be helpful to me. It's really, really difficult, if not impossible, to navigate those things in the middle of it happening, because you really can't articulate yourself and you don't know what you need, you don't know what you want. It's just, you just want it to end. So if you have someone who you live with or who you trust or who is helpful to you, you can say to them, I mean, it really doesn't matter what it is. Mine was actually probably kind of bad because it's very vague. You know, I could have just been calling to say, I don't feel good, you know, I have a cold or something like that. So I would pick something short and something that both people understand and something that you can kind of set into motion. Like, okay, this is about to happen now, and then they will know what to do. Which brings me to point number 2, which is now, again, these points are from my point of view and things that have helped me. 1 or 2 of these may be exactly what doesn't help you, and that's okay. But I'm hopeful that at least one of them will help you. So my number 2 point is about rambling or talking continuously as a means to kind of steer your focus away from what's going on and also kind of get the energy out. And this is something that helped me. So if you have that person that's around you that you know, say your code word or whatever it is, what they can do is just continually keep asking you questions, whatever dumb questions, you know, like tell me about a field trip you went on when you were a kid, or tell me a made up story or something like that. And I always found that and sometimes I would talk like a mile a minute, and it just gave me something to do. Some people for this type of thing, if it's not about talking, if they don't want to talk, it could be something like coloring, or something where you're in motion, coloring, drawing, something like that, which is similar in nature as far as distraction goes. And then, you know, I found that I would talk and ramble and very fast talk until it subsided. And then I could just calm down again and just chill for a little bit. But if you have somebody who can encourage you to keep talking, that can be very helpful. If you don't have that person, if you live alone or you just don't really have that person or someone you can trust or whatever it may be, there are some other ways you can manufacture that. You can talk into a mirror. You can, you know, practice a speech, like a fake speech. You can even, if you're the type of person who, like, I record videos for YouTube, so I can turn my computer on or my phone on and pretend to make a video. I can just talk or ramble, or you know, you're probably not going to have a lot of time to put things together because it can kind of come very quickly or like a wave, but you can just pretend, do a monologue or pretend to act or recite lines from a movie or anything like that. So hopefully that is helpful to you and you can put that into action in one of those various ways, which brings us to number 3. So this seems so simple, and again, it's something that I found out completely by accident, but has really changed my life. So I originally started having panic attacks after I had a pulmonary embolism, which is a blood clot in your lung. It happened out of nowhere. I was young, I don't smoke, I had no other kind of factors or whatever, it just happened. And the way that that feels when it's happening in real time is like you're having a heart attack, because essentially you are. So after that happened, and it was extremely traumatic, I started to have panic attacks. Now, the problem with this is that the symptoms of a panic attack are identical to the symptoms of a pulmonary embolism. So you can see that it compounded things even more for me, because I thought it was happening again, and that is a life-threatening situation. So it was really difficult for me to not feel like I needed to rush to the hospital or call a doctor or something like that. So because one of the symptoms, or one of the things that you can assess with a pulmonary embolism, is your blood oxygen level. And if that is suppressed, if that's low, then you could truly need medical attention. So what I did for that purpose is I bought one of these, and this is a pulse oximeter. It's a little bit dirty because I used it a lot. So this is a pulse oximeter, and the way that it works is you open it like this, like a little mouth, and you stick your finger in there and you turn it on. And what it does is the top number reads your blood oxygen level, and the bottom number is your pulse, or your heart rate. So I bought this because I wanted to see if my blood oxygen level was normal, even when I felt like it wasn't. But what ended up happening was, it has, even though that's not really a concern of mine anymore, it has greatly helped me with panic attacks, because a lot of times, especially if you have panic attacks from a medical issue or medical event, but even if you don't, it really can feel like you're dying. Like, it can feel like you're having a heart attack, or you're hyperventilating, or you're going to pass out, or there's something really wrong. That was really the biggest portion of having a panic attack for me. That was an issue, is feeling like something's really wrong. So I started using this when I would have a panic attack, and it served two purposes for me that were really helpful. The first thing was that it gave me something to focus on. So I was like checking the numbers and watching them move, and like very fixated on the screen, like what was happening with my vitals or whatever. And the other thing was that a lot of times it would show me that my heart rate was normal, even when I felt like it wasn't. So I would feel like my heart was beating out of my chest. I would feel like something was wrong. But this was always my reality check. So, and even if my heart rate did temporarily go up, and I felt like there was it did like truly sometimes with a panic attack, your heart rate can go up. But I would always be able to watch it go back down and know that everything was like subsiding. So if you think that something like this would be helpful, I'll put the link to this one in the description. And I don't think it was overly expensive. And yeah, and then there's other applications, like if you're sick or whatever, you can use it for like actual health reasons. But yeah, for the peace of mind and the focus that it has brought me anytime I have a panic attack, it has saved me a million trips to the hospital, which I'm sure my insurance is forever grateful for. So number 4, which is I'm sure a tip that lots of people have heard before, is a weighted blanket. This has been very helpful to me. I know that there are various weights, everything from like 5, 10, 15, 20 pounds, and you're supposed to do it proportional to your body weight. I still think that any of them would help someone. And if you don't have a weighted blanket or you don't want one, you can also have if you have somebody with you, somebody that you trust to hold on to you, like hold on very tightly. Or you can just burrito yourself into a blanket, which I've also done before. Just remember to communicate with the person beforehand, similarly to the whole like code word or rambling thing, because everyone's different. So make sure you tell them, like, if they're holding on to you, like if you want to talk or you don't want to talk, if you if it's like soothing for you to have someone play with your hair, if you want them to hold on really tightly or not, because they don't know. It's so difficult. Like, it's difficult obviously to have the panic attacks, but it's also difficult to be the other person, like watching someone deal with that and not know what to do. And we all have our own preferences and things that help and things that do not help. I have been very vocal with people around me that they should not ask me questions because I can't answer them. And so that's something that I've been able to, because it's stressful for me, because I not only can I not answer, but I know that I can't, and I'm like, stop asking me. So I don't need more stress on top of the stress, So, but yeah, so any kind of like wrapping up or blanket burritoing or weighted blanket or anything tends to be a very safe, comforting feeling for a lot of people. And then the 5th tip that I have is to create a YouTube playlist, or I mean, I assume you use YouTube because you're here, but it's not necessarily for music per se, unless that's something that really, really helps you, in which case it could be, Spotify or Pandora or Apple or whatever. But I have a specific playlist, and what I do is I put video like clips or shows or just any YouTube clip of something that I know that I can be really invested in, and especially stuff that's funny. This can also be a helpful tip for anyone that's dealing with depression, which I could do a separate video about. But essentially, you have the playlist already curated, and you could have comedy, stand-up comedian, comedy show, or a skit, or anything from YouTube where you know that it always makes you laugh, or like clips from your favorite movie, or something that is like you can kind of get lost in it. Normally panic attacks don't last a super long time, so it doesn't have to be really long, but I find that having it already curated, like already in the list, it's just one easy click and I can listen to whatever it is, get lost in whatever it is. And I think that that is one of my kind of final comments, which is something that envelops all of these things, is have these things ready, have them easily available to you, have them in an area where you know where it is, or where someone you care about who is with you knows where it is. The time to figure out what to do in these situations is not when it's starting or when it's happening. It's when everything is good and calm and you can think. So like if you like to color, or if there's something that you read, or if you have something like this, like I always keep this in the same spot. I always know where it is. And so that way you're prepared, you're planned. You can say, I don't feel good, and the person that you're with can know, go get the coloring book, go get the pulse oximeter, or go get the weighted blanket, or start asking questions or whatever. So really have things easily found, easily accessible, and make sure that other people know where they are. And above all, the most popular and of course helpful tip of them all is breathing. So sometimes nothing helps. Sometimes you just have to breathe and try to regulate your breathing until it passes, and that's okay. Just always try to relax as much as you can, try to breathe as much as you can. And so those are my 5 tips for dealing with panic and anxiety attacks. Let me know what you think in the comments, if any of these are helpful, if you have anything I didn't mention that's super helpful for you, and any questions or anything you have. And thank you for watching.